Well, it's great to be here. This is my first hype event, so I did a little something for the effort. So I'm in the business of healthcare, health insurance, and I went to Boston College, and I had a history degree. So I had a kid this weekend who's going to be a senior in high school who wants to be a history major. Ask me, what is a history major going to do, when they grow up, other than teach? And so now I'm an example. The only job offer I had coming out of college was with MetLife. So that's how I got in this business. Interviewed on campus, and as I got through it, there was a training program up in Boston, and it was an 18-month program, and a great mix of sort of financial underwriting with sort of communication and sales. So as it turned out, I think it was a great fit for me based on my skill set, my aptitude, my interest, and it was very lucky. So as I got into the business, by the time I took a couple of jobs in different markets around the country and started making some money, then it's hard to get out of them. It's hard to get out of that industry, even if you wanted to. So I was victim of a little bit of my success, in that you start making a certain degree of money, and then I wanted to try to start off in a new industry after 5 or 6 years. It's pretty hard, because you got to take 2 or 3 or 4 steps backwards. So what I chose to do eventually was to go out on my own, and that's how I did. I took two or 3 or 4 steps backwards from an income standpoint, but I was in control of my own destiny. So I never did get out of the insurance business, and I never did get out of the healthcare business. So here I sit, coming on 25 years later, and I just have been very fortunate along the way that I stepped in a lot of lucky spots, and enjoy just about every day that I get to do what I'm doing.
Tell us a little bit about the industry, kind of an overview, and where you see it going, opportunities and challenges, let's say.
Well, our core business is benefits brokerage and consulting. So we help companies buy health insurance, and as well as life, disability, dental, 401k, the things that sort of go along with that. But over 80% of our work is in the health insurance world. So a lot of turmoil, a lot of change with national health reform coming down the pike. So we, in our planning process, we've looked at a lot of different options about what to do with our business. And in the past year, we've looked at every one of them, from selling our business to merging it to turning ourselves into a multi-line insurance agency where we're doing property casualty, workers' comp, those sort of things. Most of our competitors, that's the path that they're heading down. They're going to become diversified insurance organizations. And as we looked at what the landscape presented us, the opportunities that were out there, that would be the safest route. There's a lot of opportunity for us if we were to choose to do that. So naturally we went in exactly the opposite direction, which was to basically double down on healthcare and really transform ourselves from a health insurance company into health improvement. So we're in the process of doing a number of things right now that are going to get us much closer to the delivery of services that improve the health of people in the population and in the workforce, using largely the employer channel. So we're still selling through employer groups, but the end result that we're looking for is to help those that are highest at risk to change their lives, and in the process improve their lives, reduce their health care expenses, and become a healthier, more productive worker for their employer.
So you've been at this for quite a while. Anything you would have done differently? Any regrets along the way?
There's about a million things that I would do differently. Too long to list. But I think if I was to sort of summarize what it would have done, what I would have done differently, I think I would have understood the strategic part of it better earlier, and that I would have understood, from a value proposition standpoint, from a directional standpoint, and how I choose to invest my time. I would have spent more time on the strategic level of where the business is going, what our growth plan is, and how we're going to get there. What I found is that, like most people that start their own business, you wear a lot of different hats, and the biggest thing that we do is spend time in front of a customer, and the customer rules. When the customer says jump, you say how high. And we built the business really based on myself and on my partner, Brian Driscoll, delivering that service to our customers. And that's something that you can't scale that. It's not something that you can build a business around. We really have had to, on a number of occasions, really try to reinvent ourselves in terms of who we are and the role that we play in the business. And it took me a long time to figure that out. So that's the biggest thing I think that I would have done differently, was to really understand that it really is if you want to build a business that builds sustained value and holds value, then you need to figure that part of it out sooner rather than later.
How many people do you employ?
We've got about 50 people right now.
Are you involved with all the hires, just some of them?
Not all of them. I'll meet everybody before they get hired. Generally, there's been some situations where I haven't, but and that's a key one where I've also gone in both. I've been very hands-on in the hiring, and I've been very hands-off on the hiring. And so now I think we've established some protocols about how we are going to hire, the process that we're going to hire in top grade, and figure out what's the process that we're going to use to evaluate various candidates, and everybody gets on that same page. So it's more of a process that we've established. So I've been more involved in that process and really sort of insisting on having a process rather than being the one that was the sole arbiter of whether or not somebody met the criteria.
How about best day, worst day?
Best day, worst day. Well, it's I'm the sort of person that I have to start my day off early and quietly, and when I do that, then I'm in control of the day, I feel like, and I can be directing and be choosing where I spend my time, versus if I have a couple early meetings, I get behind, all of a sudden I'm responding and reacting, and I'm not in control of my time. And those are more tiring days. They may be more exhilarating based on the sort of the content, but my best days are those that I am sort of aggressively out in front of my day and controlling it and starting off on the right foot. But in terms of the things that I do during the day, I spend most of my time involved with sort of our management group and the sales process, sales, value proposition, that sort of stuff.
Do you think back to one best day in your career and one worst day?
Well, I'll tell you, I just have to relate my day from this past Friday. So this was, I'm about to say, it was one of, as I thought back on the day, it was one of the most amazing days that I could imagine. I went through all the experiences. I'm lucky enough to be able to, we have a beach house up in Maine, and I go up on Thursday nights, and so Fridays I work out of the house up there. So I started off the day with a call with our CFO about some different things that we're doing with our ownership group and our options and options for employees and that sort of stuff. And then we have an acquisition that's in the works, and so I was on a conference call with one of the parties to that acquisition, making sure that they were happy with their employment arrangement. And then an afternoon call, we're opening up an operation in Atlanta, and I reached out to a candidate down there who might become our head of office, and it was sort of a pitch to that person that, hey, we're coming to town, and your name was brought to my attention, so I started a little bit of that sales pitch about what our view and vision of the world was. And so as I thought back about this, luckily I was able to knock off at a decent hour. It was about 4 o'clock at the beach, having a beer with some friends up there, and I'm reflecting on my day, and it was like every one of the conversations I had during the day was a major impact on somebody's life. And I was sort of in the middle of it. And generally it came through, in just about every respect, it was a positive experience. And I came through it energized, but it was not how I had envisioned spending my day in terms of, thinking on that basis. So that to me, it was just this past Friday, and it was, it was a remarkable day for me. And I mentioned that to my wife and the friends that we were sitting with, and it was not, it was kind of interesting and exhilarating to be part of people's lives like that. So